Welcome to Spirits Podcast, a boozy dive into mythology, legends, and folklore. Every week we pour a drink and learn a new story from around the world. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Julia.
And this is episode 90, Your Urban Legends Part 12, featuring, wait for it, Tim the Yowie Man.
We got him. We got Tim the Yowie Man.
We found him.
Unlike the elusive Yowie, we were able to get Tim the Yowie Man.
And we're going to tell you even more about how we managed to land this incredible interview. God, I'm so excited. It was a really great conversation.
It's amazing.
But first, we do want to welcome the rarest of sightings, our newest patrons, Carl, Natalie, Mary, Alexander, and Tyler. Welcome to the party from the forest, as well as our supporting producer level patrons, Philip, Julie, Christina, Josh, Eeyore, Amara, Ella, Ashley Marie, Neil, Jessica, Maria, Ryan, Phil Fresh, and Deborah.
Unlike the story that Tim the Yowie Man tells us that made us laugh hysterically, you are not a dressed-up greyhound. None of you are dressed-up greyhounds.
So good. And thank you as well to Cassie, Sandra, Audra, Mercedes, Jack, Marie, and Leanne.
You all are actual mythical creatures that we love and appreciate.
Aww.
And we hope that someday we'll get some cool, blurry photos of you.
Yeah, we see them frequently. It's great. Man, such a good interview. Julie, what were we drinking when we were amazed that we could finally get a man in Australia on Skype to talk to us?
Well, Amanda, you know that I love to do local beers for
Yeah.
when we do Hometown Urban Legends. This week, one of the bigger name breweries put out a new beer, which is called Delayed Pilsner. And Amanda is someone who just got off of a very delayed Long Island train. How do you feel about that?
That's a little too on the nose, Jules. And I think that my
Sorry.
3-hour journey from Long Island home to Queens, which is, spoiler alert, on the same island, that would have been a lot better with one of these in hand.
I'm sorry, but at least we got a cool interview with cryptonaturalist Tim the Yowie Man.
Hell yeah. And we also want to thank our sponsor this week, Skillshare, which is an online learning community where you too could make a course about cryptonaturalism or just about anything else. You can teach, you can learn. It's really great. And at Skillshare.com/spirits, you can get 2 months of Skillshare Premium for just 99 cents.
That is like only a quarter of a beer.
Yeah. You're lucky if you can get a beer for $4. Anyway, I'm crotchety. But before we get into the episode, I just wanted to ask you guys for a 5-minute favor. So if you want to tell us a little bit more about you, about what you like about spirits, about how we can be better, what you like about Multitude, the podcast collective we are a part of, we would love your feedback. Spiritspodcast.com/survey takes you to, in my opinion, a very beautiful survey that I wrote and designed.
You did amazing.
Thank you. With photos, there's emojis, there's like cute little tidbits. I tried to make it fun. It takes literally 4 to 5 minutes. And this is something that we are really excited to do as a collective for the very first time. You might be like, yeah, listener survey, whatever. But this is the only time that we have to collect actual data about who listens to us and to get your opinions, to hear your thoughts, to make sure that we are going to give you better stuff than ever in the next 2.5 years, just like we have been trying to do for the past 2.5. So we would really appreciate your help. Spiritspodcast.com/survey.
Yeah, like Amanda said, it takes only a couple minutes. It's adorable. Amanda asks some really cute questions. There's a really cute picture of us at the end that you can see and be like, oh, they're adorable. And that's all you need. Honestly, do it for the picture. If not to help us, do it for the cute picture.
Do it for the gram, y'all. Well, without further ado, thank you if you are taking that survey and helping us out. And everybody enjoy Spirits Podcast episode 90, Your Urban Legends Part 12, featuring Tim the Yowie Man.
This is going to be a solid episode. I have a good feeling about it. Here's why.
Okay.
I haven't had anything to drink yet.
Okay.
I haven't eaten anything spicy.
I remember
And
that was a problem last time.
We are only doing one story each because of our very special interview at the second half of this episode, so we won't get into that weird state we usually get around like the second to last episode where we all slowly lose our minds. So I feel like it's gonna be a very positive, very fulfilling energy where we won't like royally fuck up everything that we're trying to do in an episode.
Okay, but then you guys tell me, oh, the Toyota plant was the best story. And you like when we go off the rails and lose our minds.
Listen, Julia, we get tweets to this day about people loving the Toyota plant, drawing images of the Toyota plant, sending us Google image results that remind them of the Toyota plant. So
I'm still mad about it.
I stand by it. We're also all wearing tank tops today, and we look fresh as hell. So it sounds like...
Mine says Donkey Kong.
Ooh.
Does yours says Donkey Kong?
Wait, hold on. Donkey Kong.
Oh, it does. It's just it looks like I thought it was a basketball jersey.
Yeah,
but
that's
it says
the
Donkey
point.
Kong.
It's the basketball jersey that says Donkey Kong on it.
The MVP of Super Smash Bros.
Obviously.
Inaccurate statement about Smash Bros. Please don't tweet us.
Julia, it sounds like you are dressed and ready to go. So why don't you start us off?
Always. Hold on. I'm going to expand my window so I can read this email better. So this email is from Lorelei, and the title of the email was Giant Kitty Cryptids. And so obviously I had to choose it.
Good idea.
So Lorelei writes, I've been trying to think of how to succinctly tell you guys all of the things I need to tell you, but I'm struggling, so this might be a ramble fest. Sorry. Always a good start. For starters, I'm from the middle of heckin' nowhere, Georgia, USA, so there's a lot of First Nations and Appalachian granny magic / tales to influence literally everything that goes on down here. When we were kids, my maternal grandpa used to tease us about a Wampus cat, a giant black panther-like cat with saber teeth and big red eyes. If you heard it scream, it meant certain death, and it would live in the woods and that it would come to eat us or steal us away if we stayed past curfew. Again, we're falling into that bloody bones category of don't stay out late or else the giant monster will destroy you.
Heck yeah, Wampus. We know about this. We know what to do.
So a few of the other old folks in my town have said or talked about similar things. A lot of people have stories to tell about this giant cat thing. My favorite story, and probably the most terrifying, came from my dad and my paternal grandpa. When I was just a baby, we lived with my grandparents in their trailer on about 6 acres of land. They had chickens, cows, pigs, and several dogs. They capitalized dogs, which makes me concerned. Anyway, their neighbors several miles down the road had goats. There had been a lot of deforestation and clearing of trees between us and the closest town, and my pop thinks that's why the cat found us. It was forced out of its territory and into ours. My grandparents noted one morning that they were missing several chickens, and one of our dogs had a pretty nasty cut on her face. They wondered if maybe Brownie the dog, adorable name, had attacked the chickens, but they found nothing in her pen. They decided that it could have been a fox or something, and Brownie had tussled with it and left it be. Chickens kept disappearing, though, and my uncle set traps, but they always came up empty. After weeks of chicken thieving and empty traps, my uncle borrowed a trail camera from his hunting club and set it outside the chicken coop. That morning, all the chickens were perfectly safe, the camera untouched, and nothing seemed odd, except for that on the opposite side of the property, my pop's prized male boar was gone, cage pretty wrecked, signs of a struggle, and other hogs were in a panic. They rode down to the neighbors thinking that A, someone stole their pig, B, maybe a black bear, and hoping to see if the neighbors had seen or heard anything. But nope. Neighbors were missing almost an entire flock of geese, and just that morning they'd found one of their goats decapitated and left out in the field. The area of tall grass looked as though something had been laid flat and maybe rolled around in it. This is the part where my grandpa started to pull out the superstitions to blame this on, because have you ever seen a cat hunt or play with a toy or prey? They'll kind of catch it in their front paws, gnaw on it, wallow around in the ground, kick it with their back feet. Maybe, I don't know, a giant cat attacked your goat?
Yes, the answer is yes. Every time I see a cat attack anything, I'm like, oh, primal instinct predator, I'm going to run. You are the king or queen of this house. Thank you. Sorry. Goodbye.
How was your weekend with your brother and his cat, Amanda?
She's amazing. My niece Maxine. She had a little like tea bag, like kitty tea bag with a mellow catnip in it. Like one had catnip, one had like mellow me out cat stuff.
The chill strain of catnip as opposed to the really fucking shit.
Yeah. She had like the chillest of cat weed, and so I used my toe to like move the tea bag around because I can't pet her because I'm a bubble boy. But instead, I just played with her with my toe, and then she pounced on my toe immediately, and I was like, oh God, I'm sorry. If you want my toe as a tribute, you deserve it. You perfect creature, regal animal. I bow down to thee.
Correct.
Which toe was it? Big toe?
My right big toe, yes.
Ooh,
That's
you
an
need that
important
one.
toe. You can't lose that
I know. Well, I mean, she was very sweet about it, but she was just like, clearly, this is a moving creature and I'm going to eat it. And I was like, yes, sorry, goodbye.
Correct. They decide to go out and set up traps and the trail camera further into the woods between both properties. They figure odds are it's a pack of coyotes or maybe a really courageous black bear. While out in the woods, my dad described what he felt really unsettled, like something was watching him. It's kind of dark, so when he looks up into the tree line, all he can make out are these huge pair of red eyes and a somewhat bulky creature perched on a branch. My grandpa sees it too, and naturally they skedaddle the heck out of there. Correct, good choice. So they cast this off as being late and my Nana's story's getting to them. Whatever is getting the livestock, it's probably a bear. A night or so later, they wake up to a huge commotion outside. My dad and grandpa go outside to see that Brownie and the other dogs, Pudge and Scooby,
Oh my God,
so good. All pit bull mixes, an unnecessary addition, but I know how much you guys love doggos, so there's that. Thank you,
Yay.
Lorelai. They all have pinned something under the porch, and it's taking turns lunging under the porch at it. They said they weren't certain what to do, because if it was a bear, they could get hurt crawling down after it. If they shot at it, they could hit the dogs in the commotion, so they waited and agreed to just take them all to the vet first thing in the morning. The commotion outside continued for a little while, but they figured the thing managed to escape the porch and the dogs chased it off. In the morning, there were claw marks and muddy/bloody cat-like paw prints in the dirt and tufts of black hair. And because of this, these are the questions I asked. Yep, all the dogs were okay, just very grumpy. In fact, Brownie went to have a litter of puppies, and I have her son, Blackjack, with me today. Adorable. Aww. No, we don't think it was fatally injured because my brothers have reported seeing big red eyes on hunting trips. Others have still had issues with missing livestock, and sometimes we and other people talk about hearing a weird screech that isn't quite a bird, but is bigger than a stray cat. I'm relieved to hear these tales because I've adopted this large cat as my best pal, and I only want good things for him. After that, it's just a big hungry cat who may or may not be a mountain spirit. Wampus cats are just a southern Appalachian-style cryptid, and many places have different variants. Some are called the Galliwampus. Sometimes they have yellow eyes instead of red. Sometimes they're described as a hyena. Sometimes it's just an extra large panther. The root of the legend is from an evil Cherokee spirit known as the Ewa. It is dope, and I 10 out of 10 recommend. And I guess props to J.K. Rowling and her weird Pottermore canon about the American schools because the Wampus is the house mascot and cool as hell, but the whole thing is weird. And they said, that's all we got. Love from the Deep South from Lorelai and Blackjack.
Knocked it out of the park, Lorelai. Excellent
Killed
email. Excellent story. Got some good mythological roots. Got some good creepiness. Got some good doggos. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, all around, just a quality story.
Mm-hmm. My Patronus, as told to me by Pottermore, is a lynx, so I feel particularly seen by this story.
Ooh, fancy.
Eric, what's your Patronus according to Pottermore?
A freight train.
What?
Wrong.
Incorrect.
I don't remember because I did it
shame
a long time ago.
Shame.
And
get the shame bell.
Shame? No, whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and take any shame for not remembering what that site told me was anything about anything.
All right, so what do you think your Patronus would be?
Probably a deer.
Yeah.
A stag.
That's cute. I'm into it. You're going full Harry Potter. I get it.
Yeah.
Mine
Julia's
was a buzzard.
Is the best.
It's a buzzard.
I think about the fact that your Patronus is a buzzard once a month.
Thank you.
That's what they gave you?
Yeah.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a website to put on someone.
I am a double snake with a buzzard Patronus.
A double snake?
Because the
double
flying serpent or jeweled serpent or whatever the fuck for the American house. And then Slytherin, and then buzzard.
I didn't do that one. I didn't get the other house.
You shouldn't have. It's dumb. Anyway.
Ooh, hot take.
Hot take.
Welcome to Potterless. I'm a 25-year-old boy reading a book for the first time.
25-year-old boy. That's what he says every episode.
I'm sorry to tell you, Eric, but you're not 25.
Oh, fuck,
I'm not.
called out.
But
All right, listen.
but I sometimes I like to imagine. I've got a like a somewhat creepy story, and I don't want us to end on it.
Yes. I was just
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna do my story
I'll
now
give you
because
a
I've
segue.
learned my lesson.
Is it
All right.
Eric safe, though, is the real question.
Yeah, everyone emailing us with Eric's safety in their emails and their pronouns get my double gold star of approval.
Beautiful.
My story is it's like creepy and like I don't know how to describe it. It's like dark but also hilarious.
Tell us the story.
I'm telling you the story. It's from Jeffrey, and they write, when I was in the first grade, I wasn't used to having friends, let alone having a girl have a crush on me. Being a little gay boy with an overactive imagination, my first reaction was to tell her the story of the curse that kept our love from happening. I told her the tale of the blood red door.
I love everything about this already.
This story is great because it is straight from the imagination of a first grader.
So like a 7-year-old. Like a 6 or
Outstanding.
7-year-old.
6 or 7, yeah.
Also, what little gay child has not been like, romantic attention, here's the scary story. I mean, I sure have.
Correct.
They say that this isn't much of a story, but like because it was 15 years ago, but it's quality as far as I'm concerned. It's exactly what I'm always looking
Correct.
for in one of these emails. But what they remember is that long ago, someone evil used blood magic on a door to the gym. On a door to the gym supply room.
Listen, guys,
That's
why I can't attend PE. I can't go inside the blood magic.
That was facing the edge of the blacktop / recess area. The ultimate place to use blood magic. The red paint on this door was cracking and flaking off, revealing the old blue paint. This was horrific to my 5-year-old mind. Anyways, my weird way of letting her down easy was to say that I just couldn't reciprocate her love for me because of this ancient blood curse.
Oh my god.
And until the red was cleared, nothing could be done. So she was like, oh, okay. And regularly checked in on the stats of the blood red door for the next year or two. And I told her, sorry, still cursed.
I can only imagine that this little girl, like, wanting to go after her crush starts, like, chipping away at the red door.
I know, I thought you were going to say, like, 2 weeks later in the dead of night, she stole paint thinner. Like, I definitely would have done that.
So yeah, they finish up by saying that's what first grade was like for me.
Correct.
Jeffrey.
And I mean, what an intense, crazy story.
Honestly, more small child curse creation, please, just in the world in general.
So smart, so good, like so empathetic too when you're confused instead of being like, duh, you're dumb. Like you just come up with a lovely curse that's no one's fault except for the blood magic. I love it.
Just can't believe why did this first grader know about blood magic? I didn't find out about blood magic until like at least 4th grade.
Maybe Hocus Pocus?
My favorite part is that it is assumed that the red paint on the door was blood
Of course.
the whole time.
At a school that no one questioned that at all.
And like another first grader was like, yeah, that checks out.
Fuck yeah, you're right. It's
that
defo
makes
blood.
sense. Amanda, what do you have for us?
I have some hometown urban legends from Finland.
Ooh.
So Nina writes in to say that they really enjoyed the episode on Kalevala with Elena, which we did as well. And as a divination-focused witch, they wanted to share some hometown urban legends from their mother's hometown in Finland. There were none, unfortunately. But in the neighboring and even smaller town, Julie's mom remembered a story of Tirnava's mirror boy.
I'm concerned already. Mirrors are creepy on their own when there's not
Mirror
boys
boy?
involved.
Yes, mirror boy.
No.
So, Tirnava's mirror boy, his real name was Arnas Pasanen, born 1894, died 1937. So
Oh
a
no,
pretty
not
short
real
lifetime.
dates. Not real
yeah.
dates.
Oh yeah, we're bringing some motherfucking real dates into the hometown urban legends. So he
Too specific.
was a Finnish psychic / clairvoyant. He found out about his abilities during his childhood, around 12 years old. During New Year's, when family and some neighbors had gathered to celebrate, they had tried to foresee the future using mirrors as tools. It gets more buck wild, Julia. Wait. In a calm room, they put a black linen, apparently better if it's a winding sheet for some reason, on a table. Then they put 2 mirrors facing each other to create an endless mirror hall. On both sides of the mirrors, candles were lit. In a version of this ritual, a water glass and a wine glass are put on the other sides, and depending on which side your partner would appear, it could be figured out if your future spouse would be a drunkard. So I guess drink responsibly.
Wait. When they say candles were put on either side of the mirror, does that mean on the front and the back side of the mirror?
I assumed on both ends of the table in front of the mirrors.
Okay.
Either
okay.
way, can we just pause to say this is fucking crazy and
It's
sounds
a big
so
setup.
creepy, like black magic, bad.
Not good.
So anyway, our friend the mirror boy, Pasanen, looked into the mirrors during one of these New Year rituals and saw a girl about his age, his future wife Ani, who he later married when he was 21. But his scrying didn't stop there. A retelling from a neighboring relative goes that her father had hidden his watch during haymaking and asked the mirror boy for help to find it. Because apparently seeing a girl in a mirror equals finding a watch, okay? Julie editorializes. Don't know. So they went to the field together and asked the man to put his hand in a haystack at a specific point. When his hand hit the watch, the man was astonished. So as the knowledge of Mirror Boy spread, people relied on him for help. He helped people find misplaced things and cattle, to find robbers, and apparently even point out drowning places and murderers with his mirrors. One of the more memorable instances of his skills was when he asked to help solve a murder of one of the Marta Sachs in 1934. She was a co-op store retail worker in Kempele who was murdered during a robbery of the store. There aren't many details of the murder, but Pasanen did give the police characteristics of the murderer. Someone was later convicted, though there has since been suspicion that the wrong man was put to jail. There are a lot of conspiracies around this murder, including the mirror boy Pasanen receiving some threatening letters after consulting with the police and was demanded in those letters to stay quiet. Pasanen died of cancer in 1937. He never taught anyone his skills, and he considered them to be a gift from God. He also never asked for money, only to be credited if anything was right. Mostly the townspeople reacted positively to his actions, though some thought that he had gotten his skills from the devil while he was lost in the forest as a child.
That's quite a jump. Be like, oh, he got it from God. He got it from the devil while in the woods. What?
So that is the very localized story of the mirror boy of Trnava.
I was concerned. I thought it was going to be more like a boy appeared in a mirror and then murdered a bunch of people.
I just couldn't get over that image of the future seeing ritual. Like, it is to me way less creepy to do the Swedish year walk and just like walk through a churchyard at midnight and encounter some animals and maybe some monsters. Like, that to me seems way less risky than setting up like a black linen with 2 mirrors and candles and maybe some glasses. Like, wild.
When I was growing up, my grandmother had a hallway behind her bedroom that was just like massive closets. Like,
no hallway. No hallways ever.
A hallway that was both sides were closets essentially, and all the doors were mirrors.
No.
So we had an entire hallway of mirrors.
No.
Like a little, like this was just a thing that we had access to as children, and it was awesome.
How are you not dead? How is a like weird mimic not stolen your life?
Is this like the Ohio version of the Palace of Versailles or something? Like, I can think of no reason why this curse that the 70s inflicted upon us of mirrored walls needs to stay.
I feel like you have I feel like I've come to you with like a very select amount of stories about Ohio, and you guys think like Ohio is like the bougiest place. It's like, yeah, my grandmother had like they were well off. My grandfather owned his own company, but like it was in a pretty like slightly upscale suburb, and then like my parents live on a golf course, but it's like the city golf course. It's not that impressive. Like I feel like you're like, whoa, Ohio, and it's like, no, it's pretty mostly like middle class stuff going on.
I'm just saying, I'm not implying like I don't like have class implications. I'm just saying that I think it's hilarious to have a mirrored hallway. I don't want to look at myself ever.
You said it's like the palace at Versailles.
Well, Versailles
mirrors.
famously had a hall of mirrors.
Oh, right. I thought you were being like, ooh, how
bougie
fancy,
house
just
with
like
2
Versailles.
No,
mirrors.
Eric, people can afford fucking mirrors. Come on.
It's the 70s or whatever. I don't know. I'm not saying you were born in the 70s, Eric. It's not my implication.
I'm not that far off though.
Well, I think a hall of mirrors would actually be helpful to our guest. someone who spends his life looking for things that don't want to be found. But first, guys, let's get a refill.
Amanda, I love learning.
Yeah, we do. Yo, play with me in a learning space.
I love the learning space. But in this age of the internet, we can learn anything. And that's the beauty of Skillshare, Amanda, an online learning community with over 20,000 classes in design, business, technology, the arts, and more.
Yeah, they have so many amazing classes, and the premium membership is the way that they make money as a site and can keep, serving you amazing classes and doing great customer support. The team there is also so lovely to work with, and it's always great when a great sponsor is staffed by amazing people. But premium gives you unlimited access to high quality classes. There are topics, like Julia said, whether it's like design, business, actual stuff you want to learn for your skills, or like me, a hobby. So I participate in a community supported agriculture share. I know you know about this, Julia, but I don't know if everybody else does. It's a thing, basically like a timeshare with a farm. So you, at the beginning of the season in the spring or over the winter and the springtime, you pay some money to get a weekly delivery of produce from a local farm. So here in Astoria, I belong to a CSA. Every week I pick up a big old tote bag filled with vegetables. And last week I got so many tomatoes, I did not know what to do with myself until I thought, wait, I can make a sauce. I can pull a Julia. I can make something. And I'm allergic to garlic, so it is hard for me to eat Italian food. But I went to Skillshare.com, this is true, and looked up the Home Canning 101 class, where a lovely lady named Janet taught me how to make pickled vegetables and relishes and how to can them properly. So that is what I am doing with the rest of my Sunday evening, and I am so excited. I loved the class. It was really easy to follow. They have great notes. Other people in the comments are like giving you their tips and showing photos of their cans. It was great. So that is one of the many things that you can learn on Skillshare. At Skillshare.com/spirits, in fact, you can get 2 months of Skillshare Premium for just 99 cents.
I am so jealous of your canning abilities now, and I can't believe you learned it through Skillshare. That's amazing.
I did. Otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to go to YouTube, look it up, hope that it's real and not like a content marketing blog post, blah, blah, blah. Genuinely, every class I've ever tried on Skillshare is, pretty short, to the point, fun, well done. It's got music. I really, really enjoy it.
Well, that is amazing, and our listeners can have a very similar experience if they go to Skillshare.com/spirits. They get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents, about the cost of probably one tomato, which is
in the
really
supermarket
impressive.
Instead of my CSA, which is mad cheap and mad lovely.
So again, you can go to Skillshare.com/spirits to get 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for only 99 cents. And if you act now on this special offer, you can start learning how to can today or whatever you want to do.
Yo.
Thanks,
Skillshare. Now, back to the episode.
So this is kind of a super special edition of our Hometown Urban Legends because we are joined by an expert, which usually does not happen. So we are lucky enough to be joined by Tim the Yowie Man. Tim, I actually don't know your last name. I apologize.
Well, for you guys, it's Mr. the Yowie Man. That is my name. Tim is my first name. The Yowie Man.
I appreciate that. So I guess what I kind of want to start with is, Tim, how did you get into the Yowie? How did you get into cryptids? What engaged you first? What got you into it all?
I had absolutely no interest in cryptids until one particular moment in my life back in the mid-1990s when I actually saw something which I can't really explain. This chance encounter with a creature which I can only suggest was a yowie, a big, hairy, bipedal, hominid-like creature romping through the Australian bush. That sighting, it literally changed my life, and I set off on this long journey to get to the bottom of as many cryptids in Australia as possible.
That's awesome. Can you walk us through that day, kind of like what led up to the encounter and then how you felt after?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually studying at university a degree in economics, and I was trying to value the national park, put a dollar value on the national park near the Brindabella Mountains, which is just south of Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, which is a few hours south of Sydney on the east coast of the country. And it's a fairly remote area. And I was looking for bushwalkers interview to ask them about how they valued the place. And it was late afternoon, almost dusk. I hadn't seen anyone for hours. And out of the corner of my eye on this remote track, I see this movement in the bush. And my eyes glance up there, and it's a big creature in there. And my immediate reaction is, well, this is a big kangaroo, a big roo. What else can it be? I look back a bit closer, and yeah, definitely wasn't a roo. What I could see about 100 yards away was this massive, bulky, short, dark-haired, like a gorilla, marching through the bush. And my immediate reaction, I was scared. I thought, what the heck is this? My immediate reaction was to turn and run. But then I thought, I need to keep my eyes on this creature for as long as I can, because it might come at me. It might attack me. So I walked backwards step by step, keeping my eye on the creature. And for what seemed like minutes, but on reflection was probably only 10, 20 seconds or so, got back to a fire trail, turned, and ran back to my car. And that sighting, it changed my life.
Yeah, that would be my reaction too. I feel like I would not be happy. I would not be excited. I would be very scared.
Well, I was very scared. And if something like that happened now that I'm Tim the Yowie Man and I go looking for yowies and bunyips and Tasmanian tigers and big cats, all strange cryptids, I'd love it. But back then, I didn't even know that Australia had a yowie, which is of course, the Australian version, I guess, of Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti. I actually didn't realise we had that history in Australia at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh gosh, that's I can't even imagine going through that kind of experience. It's obviously extremely life-changing in your situation at the very least. And I think I'm curious, like, how did you get started, like, seriously starting to look? Did you do research on it after that? Or did you just kind of, like, start telling the people the story and then someone was like, oh, yeah, that's a yowie? Or how did that go afterwards?
Yeah, well, I actually kept the story to myself for a little while because I was afraid of ridicule when I told my friends. And it was sometime later, a few weeks or a month or so, that I told some friends, and I thought they'd, laugh me out of town and think I was some sort of fool. But one of them had read a book about cryptids in Australia a few years earlier and said, hey, what you've seen, how you describe it, you've seen the yowie, the Australian version of Bigfoot. Oh, wow. And I was fascinated. So I started immediately researching into the yowie phenomena. And as a result of my sighting, I thought I'd go public with it. And I think I did a radio interview on a local radio station in Canberra, Australia. And from that, someone gave me some information on a report on a sighting they'd had. And I guess it took off from there. I was obsessed, I guess, to get to the bottom of this yowie mystery. And I spent years trying to find some tangible evidence.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm really curious about the term cryptonaturalist that you use. What does that mean to you?
Well, I guess after several years of trying to get to the bottom of the yowie mystery, I guess what it might or might be, I in researching the yowie, I came across many other cryptids, and whether it be the famous Loch Ness monster or similar creatures in Australia and the chupacabra, all these cryptids. And I became fascinated with all cryptids. I wanted to explore not just the yowies, but all these amazing creatures that would take me all over Australia and many places in the world. Sounded like a fun sort of job. And then I thought that, I've read about cryptozoologists who focus purely on these cryptids, but I was more interested as well in expanding that to anything which is sort of a bit unusual, a bit that can't be explained in the natural world. So I thought cryptozoology was too specific to. So I thought call myself a cryptonaturalist to sort of expand the world of unusual happenings which I could delve into.
I love that.
So I'm the only one. I don't know if anyone else has also used I don't know if anyone else has also used the term cryptonaturalist. There's obviously many cryptozoologists out there, and many of them probably also are cryptonaturalists in their own right, but I don't know if anyone else actually uses the term.
I really love it though, because it, I studied literature and naturalism and kind of like people who just like walk around exploring things like Theodore Roosevelt style, just like going out into the world and encountering stuff and becoming like a self-taught expert. I really love that idea. And zoology, is obviously an academic discipline. So I think it makes complete sense that like lots of us can aspire to be naturalists, even those who don't go to, zoology school. So I saw it and it sort of pricked my mind like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, I don't have, I did end up finishing that economics degree. I don't have a degree in zoology or anything like that. It's exactly how you've put it there. It's a term to describe a self-taught naturalist who also loves to delve into the unknown. Whether it be yowies or even other strange creatures. Have you heard of the ompax spatuloids?
No, please tell us more.
Come on, you must have heard of the ompax spatuloids. Of course, you probably haven't, but it was one of the most fascinating first sort of cryptids I came across in my research, and it was dating back to the 1800s in Australia, the early 1800s. First European settlers didn't really arrive here till the late 1700s. So Australia, as the country we know it now, was relatively new in that respect. Of course, we've got an indigenous culture, one of the oldest in the world. But one morning there was these out in an outback station. These naturalists were served up something very unusual for breakfast. It was about a 12-inch long creature. It had a spatula-like head. It was a dirty reddish color and had armor-like scales and a fringe-like tail. And this naturalist, I think he was a naturalist from France, quite an academic zoologist, in fact. He was also a museum director, and he was so intrigued at its peculiar appearance, he sketched it and sent it to someone in the French consul in Sydney. And they described it, and so much so did they think that they were the first Europeans to see this creature, that they actually named it the ompax spatuloids as its scientific name. However, and this is the bit I love, several years later, the stockman who served it up to the naturalist for breakfast revealed that he'd actually served up the head of a platypus, which is an Australian creature, the body of a mullet, a fish, and the tail of an eel, which he'd strung all together to make it look like one creature, but was the bits and pieces of three. And I love that because that so sums up Australia. Many people think, particularly in that era, we had all these unusual creatures that don't exist anywhere else on the planet. So let's go one step further and make up even more unusual creatures.
Very self-aware, very enterprising. I gotta respect, game recognized game. Like I see that there.
Very, very funny. And so what I like to do is I don't even, I'm not disappointed if I don't get to the bottom of a mystery, because there needs to be the mystery out there for me to continue doing what I do. So if all the mysteries are solved and all the cryptids are either proved to be some sort of other creature or a new creature to science or a hoax or whatever, then I've got no job. So I love the fact that there's mystery out there. I'm not encouraging people to make up cryptids like in that case, but the fact there's still that mystery out there in a world which scientists claim they can explain almost everything. I think we need mystery to give us that bit of enthusiasm and zest in life.
I like that. I like that a lot. On that same vein, you've mentioned the yowie. Obviously, you've mentioned bunyips. What's a Australian cryptid that you think doesn't get enough attention that it deserves more?
On a global scale, the creature that probably needs more attention is our big cat phenomena. I'm not sure if you've covered that in any other episode. Australia doesn't have any large cats, right? We don't have any pumas, panthers, whatever you want to call them. However, the most common sighting of a cryptid in Australia is of a big cat, a black panther roaming the east coast of Australia. There's reports of this regularly. It outnumbers
Wow.
yowies, bunyips, sea serpents, Tasmanian tigers, about 50 to 1. And there's various theories as to what this big cat could be, whether it's something new to science. One of the theories is actually that the Americans, you guys, when you came to visit our country in the Second World War, you had pumas as mascots on your ships. And
That sounds like something we do.
Yeah, it does. Yep. And when you docked at various ports around the country, there's speculation that some of the sailors let one of these or several of these loose, and that's what we're seeing today. But of course, that can't explain the fact that there's literally these big cats sighted right up and down the east coast of Australia. And so it really does capture the imagination of Australians. It's often front page news, another big cat sighted near the Blue Mountains on the outskirts of Sydney. Mm-hmm. What is it? Many people believe they're just really massive feral cats, pets that have been let loose in the bush. But
right, sure.
No one's got to the bottom of it. So on a global scale, I think that's probably the biggest cryptozoological phenomena here in Australia.
Interesting.
That's fascinating. We often talk on the show as we, discuss like older gods and urban legends. I love when I make just like unexpected connections, like when a ancient Sumerian goddess reminds me of like a thing in Harry Potter. And that's something that we really love about what we do. But I also love that about people who have, conspiracy theories or, other kind of alternative ideas or timelines or explanations of things that they see in the world. Is like, it's so cool that something like a real, documented historical phenomenon like that could have all of the pieces to add up to explain something that is unexplained right now. And I just think it's like human brains love pattern and narrative, and getting to see people together trying to put together like these puzzle pieces is just so fun.
It is. And as you said, those puzzle pieces, that's a really neat way of explaining this alien big cat phenomenon, where aliens means unknown. Of course, not many people believe they've come from outer space. Alien in it's
that would be cool too.
So they're called ABCs over here, alien big cats. But probably on a global scale, the Tasmanian tiger or thylacine. Have you come across that?
I know.
No.
I know a little bit about it. Not enough to hold a good conversation, though.
Well, let me give you a little bit about it, because this is one of my pet subjects. Because the Tasmanian tiger, cryptozoologists, we're dealing with, or cryptonaturalists, we're dealing with creatures that mainstream science believes don't exist. The Tasmanian tiger is a hopeful one out there, because we know it once did exist. So the Tasmanian tiger used to roam all over Australia right up until about 5,000 years ago. Then the dingo, which is a wild dog, was introduced into Australia, and it outcompeted the Tassie tiger on the mainland of Australia. But just south of Australia, and still part of the country, is a state called Tasmania. And the dingo couldn't swim, so these Tassie tigers they lived on there in Tasmania for many years, right up until the 1930s. But they were blamed for killing all the sheep on farms, so there was a bounty put on them, and farmers went out and shot them, and basically shot them to extinction. Or is it extinction? Because since 1936, there's been a long list of people that claim to still see this Tassie tiger out there roaming the bush. And there's, although there's no conclusive evidence that it's still out there, there's various organisations and business people in Australia that have put sort of, $1 million to anyone that can find conclusive evidence of the Tassie tiger. It's a creature with a long tail. It's about the size of a dog and with stripes on it. It's a
really gorgeous animal.
It is absolutely beautiful. Have a look at look it up on the web. The Tasmanian tiger. It's I'd love to encounter one of those. In fact, one day I almost did. Did you want to hear about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So this is about can't remember how long ago now. Probably 15 years ago. I was down in Tasmania looking for the Tassie tiger, because I wanted this $1 million, to tell you the truth.
Of course. Can't blame you for that.
And so I had this, they're nocturnal. So I had this 4-wheel drive and a camera mounted on the front, driving around some of the remote dirt tracks in northern Tasmania where last sort of sightings of the creature were. And it was around midnight or so, and driving along this road, and there in my headlights is a creature. It looks like a Tasmanian tiger. It's got stripes. It's got the long tail. It's about the size of a dog. My heart's beating. I can't believe it. Here, finally, I'm going to find something. So I stopped the car and got out and had my other camera with me and crept up towards the creature. And I was really surprised it didn't dart away. And the reason it didn't dart off is it seemed to have a bit of a limp. It seemed to be injured in some way. And I thought, oh, well, even better chance to capture some sort of footage of it. As I got closer to it, the most exciting moment in my life turned to the most disappointing. There in my torchlight wasn't a Tasmanian tiger at all, rather a greyhound with stripes painted on it.
No!
You know what had happened, Amanda and Julia? This guy from a local pub in Tasmania, he'd heard I was out on this expedition. He thought, I'm going to get this young Yowie man. I'm going to prove
my
that's
goodness.
hilarious.
And he painted his greyhound and he was hiding around the corner and he'd let it loose. So I got done. So, but that's just part of the industry.
My gosh.
You have those fun moments.
That's very good. I got to give that guy credit. As exciting as it would have been for you to actually see a Tasmanian tiger, that is a really funny story.
Yeah, and I was absolutely livid at the time. Let me assure you, I was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, time has healed that, and now I guess I do see the humorous side of it.
Well, comedy is just tragedy with time added. So
yeah. In that case,
this is
very
true.
much so.
What sort of people do you run across in your like daily life these days? I know that you do run tours and events. So like what kind of people tend to attend those, and what sorts of friends and colleagues have you made along the way?
Well, I guess when you're dealing with this subject matter and you talk to someone who isn't sort of across the subject matter or not really into it, they assume or often will say, so do you just deal with crackpots? You're familiar with the term crackpots, like just crazy people?
yeah.
Right.
But my experience in over the last 20 plus years, sure, I've met the odd crackpot, but probably not much more than the average person in the street. The vast majority of people I encounter, whether they come on my tours and events or whether they report a sighting of a cryptid or whatever to me, they're just your average person. We call them Joe Blows in Australia, just your average Joe walking down the street, same as everyone else, not making up a story, not crazy in any way, just got something a bit unusual they want to talk to you about. They're not sure what might be the reason or the origins of whatever it is that they've seen. And it's more often than not, it's those people. They just want to, similar to when I had my Yowie sighting, I kept it to myself and then spoke to some friends. But there's a lot of people out there that have these stories, and then they see people like myself and others that are in this sort of industry as someone they can almost confide in. A lot of them don't want you to expand the stories to others and distribute it, but they just want to tell you about their story, and because they know that I'll listen.
Yeah, I'm sure there's almost a therapeutic aspect to it, where people that probably feel quite vulnerable or uncertain can come to someone that they know will at least hear them out.
And indeed, and sometimes you've got to spend hours, sometimes days, listening to people because they've got this story they've had built up in their, and they haven't shared it for 20 years or something, and you're there, and they want to outpour all this this encounter, the emotion associated with it. It's almost like someone for like a priest or a reverend from a church. You have to sit there and listen and try and provide some guidance. Often, of course, you can't because the world of cryptonaturalism, cryptozoology is an uncertain one.
Absolutely.
Tim, do you want to plug anything? A website, your social media stuff, anything like that?
So I've written several books on Australia's strange phenomena. One's called the Haunted and Mysterious Australia, and I find there's been quite a lot of interest from the US in people looking at these mysteries, whether they're cryptids or haunted locations or cursed places, UFOs, the like. It covers all of that, and so I've made that available on my website to anyone in the US. You can go to Yowie Man. That's YOWIEMAN.com.au, and it'll have information there as how you can find out about that book. And I've just started an online series on YouTube where I'm delving into and investigating various unusual and strange happenings in Australia. So if you go to YouTube and look up Tim the Yowie Man, the series, you'll start seeing some of those episodes pop up there.
I am subscribing right now. I can't wait.
And that is very much up our listeners' alley, so I'm sure everyone will go check that out.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Also, I'm also on Facebook. Just look up Tim the Yowie Man. Love to hear stories from all around the world, and have been to North America on numerous occasions in search of the Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And actually, before we go, just one of the questions I'm often asked is, how does the Bigfoot or Sasquatch compare to the Australian Yowie? And
yes, please.
Some researchers many years ago did some fellow researchers in Australia, Tony Healy and Paul Cropper, who focused purely on mostly on the Yowie. They did some research into the similarities and differences. And one of the differences was a difference in height. So the Bigfoot or Sasquatch is actually, on average, about 6 inches taller than the Australian Yowie. So I guess if we had a game of basketball, the Americans would still beat us, even if it was the Yowies versus the Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
That's fair.
That's the main difference.
Oh, I love that. Tim, thank you.
Can you imagine them playing basketball?
I'm thinking of Space Jam, but better.
A marketer's dream. I can see people flocking to see that. Can't you?
Oh, for sure. That would be like Jurassic Park, but a singular event.
Yes.
I'm still trying to get over the ABCs, the alien big cats. That's just the most amazing initialism I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. And in fact, you got some clout. You got a big phone. Maybe you could organise it. Maybe that's your aim for 2019, to organise this basketball match between Bigfoot and Yowie. There's the challenge.
If we could commercialize it, it's a big potential market. Maybe that would draw them out of hiding. Never know.
Do Yowies and Bigfoots subscribe to capitalism, Amanda?
I think
not, unfortunately they're very elusive. Yeah, it's very hard to find those. But very few encounters where people have actually had a physical interaction with a Yowie. When they're seen, they usually, the Yowies sort of slip away into the bush. So I'm not sure they're coming forward, even if you're waving a checkbook.
I'm with the Yowie on that.
Well, Tim, thank you again for taking a few minutes out of your morning to chat with us, and for being so friendly on Twitter and Facebook when two random Americans were like, oh my God, this person. So thanks again. And if we're ever in Australia, we know who we're going to call. Same here for New York. You're absolutely welcome to hit us up next time you tour through Bigfoot territory.
Yeah, I can't wait. And yes, I'm sure you guys will come on tour one day, and I'll take you out there, and we'll find an ABC, a bunyip, a Tassie tiger, and an Australian sea turtle, all on the same week.
Oh,
I love it.
Best week ever.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right, see you soon.
Bye.
Spirits was created by Amanda McLaughlin, Julia Shafini, and Eric Schneider, with music by Kevin MacLeod and visual design by Allison Wakeman.
Keep up with all things creepy and cool by following us at Spirits Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. We also have all of our episode transcripts, guest appearances, and merch on our website, as well as a form to send us your urban legends at spiritspodcast.com.
Join our member community on Patreon, patreon.com/spiritspodcast, for all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff. Just $1 gets you access to audio extras, with so much more available too. Recipe cards, director's commentaries, exclusive merch, and real physical gifts.
We are a founding member of Multitude, a collective of independent audio professionals. If you like spirits, you will love the other shows that live on our website at multitude.productions.
And above all else, if you liked what you heard today, please share us with your friends. That is the very best way to help us keep on growing.
Thank you so much for listening. Till next time.